I finally made it. I'm on McDojoLife. Wait, you're not supposed to want to be on McDojoLife.
I thought I made it. Don't you have more? You have more followers on YouTube.
Yeah, but I was just about to say the dream of every martial artist on the internet is to end up on McDojoLife, but that's the opposite of
not
true.
Where people want to know.
Oh no, what's happened?
Why am I here?
This is Hard to Hurt versus McDojoLife. My position has always been that the whole "you're gonna get somebody killed" thing is overblown and not really a thing. So I thought, who better to talk to than to come on to McDojoLife and talk to my friend Rob, you people out in internet land that try to pit us against each other because you think that what I'm saying is the antithesis of what he's saying, but we're gonna dive pretty deep into it and talk about when I say that McDojos are not gonna get somebody killed, I'm talking about something very specific.
For sure.
If you look in the comment sections of the things you post,
for sure,
just the knee-jerk quick reaction, you see a guy teaching some bullshit that we can all agree is not how to fight. And they say, he's gonna get somebody killed. My position is probably not. There's a lot of circumstances that would have to line up for that to happen. And the key among it, in my opinion, is I teach you nonsense. You go get yourself into some stuff that you wouldn't have gotten yourself into if I didn't teach you the nonsense. That's a big crux. You have to not be an idiot. The type of person that would go try to no-touch knockout a guy was probably so damn stupid that he was gonna do something regardless of where he got his woo-woo from. You know what I mean?
Or indoctrinated, which is something that I want to talk about as well.
I do want to learn more about that.
Why don't we start with what a McDojo is?
I think that's important. How do you define McDojo?
I have 5 very specific rules to what I consider a McDojo. 1, pedophiles. Like, having an active pedophile run a martial arts studio already, right off the bat, nullifies me wanting to ever be a part of that, associate with that, or even have anything to do with that person.
It's pretty fair.
Pretty standard
I don't
rule.
think you find too many people that would
agree with
that.
disagree with that. There's a gentleman, his name's David Arnbeck, and he molested a 15-year-old girl in his house while that girl was having a sleepover with his daughter. And he took a plea deal to not put himself on a sex offender registry. But he openly admits to doing that, to pleading guilty to this act. But people would never, technically by the majority standard, would never call him a McDojo because he's a 5th degree black belt under Hicks and Gracie.
Right, so maybe he's amazing at jiu-jitsu. Maybe he's a great jiu-jitsu instructor. But he's still a piece of shit.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's what's your standard here? So
if the standard for a good place to train is can they fight good?
You would go to that guy's school, right? And so,
but there's lots of other stuff that goes into choosing a place to spend your time and money.
And so really process that, whoever's watching. Process your thoughts about what a standard is for a McDojo and really think if that is your only standard, this dude raped a kid. And so, would you go train there? And if you do, now you have a moral question on your hands. Why are you financially supporting a pedophile? And if you did not know that information going in, obviously that's not your fault. But once you are aware of that information, you have to make a decision. Do you stay with this person or not? If you're financially supporting that person, to me, that makes you a piece of garbage.
That clears out right away that the main thing that I'm looking for is the best instructors.
And that's not necessarily the case. Rule number 2 is lying about your belt rank or your fight record. The first thing you do when you walk into a martial arts studio is you learn about the instructor. It's usually step 1. And so if they're willing to lie about that, imagine how deep the rabbit hole goes when they start lying to you about other things. Because that's the first interaction you have. Gentleman who was in South Africa, right? And his name was Mike something. I don't remember his last name. I apologize. I did a video about that. It's called The House That Mike Built. But we actually got him shut down. High five. Suck it, Mike, not you. That guy was teaching people and giving people Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rank, but he himself had never been ranked in Jiu-Jitsu. So he was lying to people saying that he had the ability to promote them. Now, eventually this comes to a head 25 years later when his students who were with him since they were 5 found out that he had been lying. And how did they find out? Mike wrote a 4-page letter to all of his black belts, which technically aren't black belts because he can't really give that, but he wrote a 4-page letter ripping them apart for being, he called them hyenas and he called them disrespectful, and he told them he was going to take away their rank.
So he was imploding. He was
he was freaking out. And so you can't take away their rank. their rank didn't mean anything to begin with.
Yeah.
It was a made-up thing that you made up. Imagine how your reality changes when you realize the reality that you had was not only a lie, but the person who lied to you is still trying to manipulate you, even though he is caught dead to rights as a fraud.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Now, you have guys like Charlie Zelenoff, right, who would lie about his fight record, because those aren't real fights.
Right.
It's just him randomly giving someone gloves and then punching him in the face and saying that's a fight.
This is where I think these guys get confused. The people that are so quick to throw around this term. You're saying they lie about their record or their rank. You're not saying they have a low rank or a unimpressive record. There's dudes that don't have great rank and don't have a great record that can teach you a lot. And there's guys with high ranks and great records that can't teach you anything. You know, but the lying, the intent, that's a good indicator right off the bat.
That's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, what else are they going to lie about?
For sure.
Probably everything.
Rule number 3 is unsafe training practices and cult-like behavior. There was a child in Japan who was thrown so many times in a judo class, his second judo class ever, mind you, by his instructor and other children in the class. He exhibited signs of a concussion. He said that he was nauseous. He threw up multiple times. The coach, with the tough love for everybody who loves that phrase, put him out there anyway, and then the kid went into a coma. After the kid was in a coma for 2 months, he passed away. The coach was well aware that this kid was not in it for any reason at all. Even if he's just not in it because he doesn't want to, then he's done. Let him out of class. Like, it's not your job to abuse a child to the point where he's put into a coma and dead because you wanted to make him tough.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that incident in particular, when I first started this idea that I was sharing, that it's not that big a deal. McDojos are not that big a deal, which flies in the face of all this very serious stuff that we're talking about. You know, how are you saying it's not that big a deal? Very unfortunately, the first time I talked about this, that happened right after. You know, and people equated me saying that a person who learned some techniques that weren't real was probably not gonna go get killed or hurt because of that. It's unlikely. Equated that with, I'm saying it's okay that a judo instructor throws a kid on the ground 100 times.
Which I would never assume that that's what you meant.
But the internet, that's how it works.
Yeah,
you know, they
sure.
draw that correlation. It's like, no. If you throw someone on the ground, if you throw a child on the ground 100 times, you should be ripped apart and you're a bad person, and that would definitely be dangerous to the child. What I am saying, it is 100% terrible and awful to have unsafe training practices. Like, I never said that was okay, you know.
I never heard you say that was okay.
Yeah, that was the most bizarre, and I very rarely get upset by people misinterpreting me, because honestly, it's good for business. You know, but because of what we're talking about, that one bothered me. I was upset. I was like, how could you equate me saying that some fedora-wearing neckbeard who looks at Aikido videos online isn't gonna go attack a group of gangbangers to bring justice to the neighborhood? It's not gonna. Yeah. Knock on wood. You know, as soon as I say this, that story will play out. You can't equate that with me saying it's okay for people to throw kids on the ground 100 times. Well,
which is why I wanted to have this conversation, and I'm glad that you want to have the conversation too, is I think that a lot of people have their own strange standards of what a McDojo is, and through these conversations, we can make a universal standard to give people the option of being more educated before they go into something like that, to look for those red flags. But the second part of that is cult-like behavior, and this is where people give me the hardest time. Is they say, well, why don't you ever call out like MMA or BJJ? I do all the time. If you don't see the content that I put out, that's not my fault to have to reiterate it to you because you're lazy and didn't watch it. Some of the cultiest stuff I've seen is in BJJ. Yeah. So there's a term, and I'm not Brazilian, so I don't speak Portuguese, so whoever hears me mispronounce this, I don't care, but it's called the crianche. And a crianche is a character. It was a character on a soap opera who was a backstabbing, bad person, right? And so that
a villain.
Yeah, and so that has become a term in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a traitor. And a lot of times when this is applied to people, it's usually applied simply because they just went and trained at another gym.
Right, a subjective standard.
Yeah. So I, as a customer, am coming to you as an instructor. I am paying you monthly for you to provide me a service. I, when I leave these doors, can do whatever the I want. Yeah. Within reason of respect to your gym. And by that, I mean, I'm not going to wear your gym's logo and go out and shoot 5 people.
Right.
I'm not going to go rob a bank under the name of your gym. Or I won't even do this, which I've seen a lot of people do and get kicked out of gyms, by the way. So watch what you say online. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to have a private profile, hide behind it, but then the only link is to your gym while I talk shit and give people death threats.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't do that either.
And notice all these things are things, again, and I'm noticing a recurring theme, things everyone can sort of universally agree on.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are all bad. I would even go as far down as going to another gym and either talking bad about your home gym or poaching students or engaging in this. But if you just go there to train,
who gives a shit?
That becomes a subjective standard of morality or behavior or whatever, and that's not a traitor.
And then the reason I bring it up is because that is most definitely falls under cult-like behavior.
Yeah.
It is the instructor is trying to control your outside behavior when you leave the gym, and nothing more than a selfish manner that only benefits the instructor. It benefiting you, if I really cared about you as a student, I would say, hey man, there's a seminar going on over here, you should go check it out.
We're great at leg locks. They're great at arm bars over there. You need to go over there to learn your arm bars. That's when you take the ego out of the whole
then
thing.
what you do, what I've seen every great coach say in those moments is, hey, when you go to that seminar, bring it back, give me a little something.
Yeah.
The next one on the list is shady business practices. So we had a guy, and he ran a thing in my hometown. Now, this dude had a record. Right, he had a record for a mile long. He was constantly arrested, but he ran this gym, and everybody considered him the MMA guy back in the day when there were like no MMA gyms to find. Right. This guy has a track record, and actually, I'm pretty sure was arrested for this. He actually went to people's houses when they were late on payment and would strong arm them for the payment at their door.
Yikes.
That's a shady business practice. Another one. If I go into a martial arts gym, which is a thing that comes up all the time, should they require their uniform, or should you be allowed to wear whatever you want when it comes to gis, right? If they're open and up front with you, who cares? That's your decision. You're making that decision before you sign up. If they pull the wool over your eyes and say, all right, this is going to be the monthly cost. All right, is that it? That's all I have to pay? Okay, cool. Then next thing you know, you have to buy the new uniform for the new program. And then you have to do the...
after you've maybe paid a registration, after you've signed a yearly contract.
By the way, there are also testings. I didn't tell you about that when you signed up. That's them lying to you. Now, if they are up front with you about all of that at the beginning, it's not shady. They told you. They told you that was going to happen.
Maybe that place is the bomb, and they can do that.
Yeah, that's their standard. And either you do it or you don't, but that's your choice.
I took Japanese jiu-jitsu for a while, and it was a year contract, and about 4 months in, I my job schedule changed. It was no problem. He was like, fine. It was in there, schedule permit, like, literally there was very few reasons that I couldn't break the contract, but it just couldn't be, I don't feel like coming anymore.
Yeah, which is... that's much different.
I was gonna say, so far none of it has been, are they any good?
Yeah, which really it isn't. Right?
And that's such a small part. I know that you're very good at martial arts. I know that you're the best and all that. I get it, right? But you're probably not.
I'm definitely not.
Someone else could look at video of you hitting the bag and say, that guy sucks.
Yeah, in any given moment or context, good day, bad day, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And whoever you think is so good, we can show you training video where they don't look that good. I laugh at the UFC fighters when it shows footage of them backstage shadowboxing and hitting pads. If you didn't know who they were, you'd be like, that guy sucks.
He's just warming up. He's not even doing it. Or like put on an Oculus and watch what happens.
Yeah. We all kind of suck a little bit.
The last one is no touch knockouts and mislabeling technique. If somebody does like a flashy kick, a jump spinny kick, maybe Raymond Daniels could pull it off, right? Maybe he has, right? But does the average person have the ability to actually use that in self-defense? No, but that's why you would never label it that way. You would never say that that's a self-defense technique. Somebody goes into a cardio kickboxing class and they're hitting a bag, right? And then the person just says, hey man, you're not going to be able to be a great kickboxer, but I can teach you some basics, jab, cross, hook, maybe front kick, and you'll be better at those particular techniques. That's not mislabeling. If you go in there and they say, you're going to be a great kickboxer now, that's a lie.
Right.
Because that's not, there's so many elements that are not a part of that. Like sparring is not in there. Like sometimes mitt work isn't in there.
Distance management, all those little intangible things that people don't even know or think.
Will this get you killed? And the answer is absolutely.
But this is the thing.